Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3. And I'm back with a brand new episode of What If Naruto Unlock 100% of his brain. Part 8 guys. Remember to get this one too. 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new series over on Anime King of What If Naruto Was Shisui's brother with a yellow Sharingan, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, I indeed have 3 more channels. All the links will be down in the description, so go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we jump right into this? Let us begin now guys. So, to do a bit of a recap from the last part that we left off, Tsunade had headed out as her intention was clear. She was going to kill Orochimaru for his actions against the village. However, unfortunate for her, they used her hemophobia against her, as the blood was just too much. She wasn't able to handle the pressure of the blood being splashed on her. Fortunately though, Naruto and the others arrived. Naruto had gotten rid of the toxin out of Jiraiya's system, so he was fully able to operate without holding back at all, as he went up against Orochimaru without not even a hint of hesitation. As for Naruto, he told Shizune that he was going to fix Tsunade, and he truly meant it, as Naruto entered into her mind. What he saw was Dan and Nawaki, but the both of them seemed to be some sort of zombified version of themselves, blocking Tsunade, as they were blocking him from reaching her. However, even in someone else's mind, Naruto's mind power was greater than everyone else, as he was able to easily overpower them as he stepped inside and found Tsunade a mess on the ground, as she was crying. Yes, she was crying, as she was standing over the real Dan and Nawaki, as the both of them were dead. She felt so hopeless, so empty, so broken. As Naruto spoke to her, he was able to inspire her to get back to her feet and to fight them off, to fight away the bad thoughts, to push it all away, because she still had people who care about her. So she pushed it all away. As she got out, so did Naruto, as Naruto was able to watch her rise back to her feet. Kabuto tried to attack Naruto, but Tsunade sent him sailing as she demolished him with a single punch, as he crashed extremely hard. That is when they took on the Sannin, but Naruto had other things in mind, as he already made himself a promise that he was going to kill Orochimaru, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing on this planet that could make the Sannin escape his death. As Naruto made his way towards Orochimaru, the both of them started to fight as Naruto trapped him, using water as he solidified it. It became so hard that the Sannin could not break through, as there was no chance of him escaping away from Naruto. A battle then ensued between the both of them, as Orochimaru tried his hardest. However, he found himself outmatched. Naruto took his own blade and infused it with his chakra, as Naruto was able to negate his regeneration as he sliced them up. Naruto ripped and destroyed the Sannin. Orochimaru tried to take over Naruto's mind, as Naruto had to remind them that There was no one on this entire world that had a stronger willpower than him, as Naruto destroyed him. Kabuto was able to limp away as he fled, as he popped a pill in his mouth that healed him fully. It had side effects, but it had an extreme amount if you took that much. As Kabuto left, surviving to fight another day. The next time we saw Naruto, he was waking up in bed with Shizune. The both of them found themselves in a rather exciting moment, and they end up sleeping together. But this was not something that neither of them wanted to pursue, as it wasn't something that they were looking for. Neither of them were looking for something long term, so that was good with the both of them, as Jiraiya was trying to get details from Naruto, who refused to tell him a single thing. So with that, Tsunade had returned back to the village, as Naruto had done something or said something to Itachi, because upon returning, Naruto proceeded to defeat Sasuke and show him that he does not stand a chance against Itachi. However, he could help him. He could help him become even stronger than Itachi if he simply listened to what he has to do. Sasuke agreed, for the first time putting his pride and arrogance aside in order to gain strength to face off against his brother. A few weeks passed since Tsunade became Hokage, as everything was going fine until Naruto picked up on something odd. The next thing that he knew, something came from the sky. It was a person attacking Naruto right in the district. He kicked Naruto so hard that he flew and burst right through the monument, crashing in the field behind it. As Naruto was confused, the person was trying to overpower him, but Naruto started to beat the living crap out of him. His body started to crack, but he forced himself back together, as Naruto was confused who exactly this was. The man with the white hair and silver eyes. He looked at Naruto with disgust and anger. However, that is when she arrived. It was Yumiko. Her golden eyes focused on the man, as he seemed angry to see her. As Naruto realized that they knew one another, the man said that she wouldn't be able to get away with this, and he spoke about others. There was more like them, more superhuman beings. Well, they weren't exactly humans, and Naruto was reaching their level, and that seemed to anger this intruder that wanted to end his existence. But Yumiko warned him that if he touched Naruto, that she would retaliate against him, as she called his name Aizen. She dared him to make a move, but he did not. As he flew away, Yumiko repaired the damage that was done, as Naruto wanted answers, but she told him that she couldn't give it to him now, as she had to go. Before he could do anything, she teleported away, leaving him there, leaving Naruto rather confused on what the hell was that interaction, and what the hell was truly going on, as Tsunade and the Anvus arrive on the scene, wondering what the hell just happened, as Naruto had no earthly idea. So yeah guys, basically let's left off, you guys can switch across to play strict of yourself so to be in this new episode guys. The heavens crackle, as it seems like rain was going to be released any second now, as lightning could be seen coursing through the heavens, loud booming thunder. 2,654. That was the amount of ninjas that were currently standing together as one. A massive army about to destroy everything in their path. Every single one of them was a Kiri ninja, and they were here for one thing and for one thing only, to do as they were told, to wipe out the resistance, to wipe out those who faced them. However, standing at the opposite side was only one single individual, his arms folded as he stood on a large rock platform that he had created. As he gazed down at each and every one of them, he was wearing a black bodysuit underneath his coat, a long white coat that fluttered in the wind, his blonde spiky hair being blown back, black pants with sandals on his feet. There was no pouches or no sign of any weapon on him. His headband was securely wrapped around his head as he stood there. It was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, as he was facing off against an entire army of ninjas. However, behind Naruto, below the massive stone platform, was a rather large group. A large group of ninjas, ready to get this over with once and for all. In the center of this massive group was a woman known as Maid Terumi, here to stand by and fight alongside her people. Her second-in-command Ao standing beside her. Their numbers wasn't as great as the opposing forces. Also standing there as well was Zabuza Mamakai, and close by him was Haku, as her gaze was focused on the man that stood on the podium, which was none other than Naruto. While their forces might be much smaller, many of the members here possess unusual abilities, Kekkei Genkais to be more exact. Standing on the opposite side was a man who's become to known as a tyrant, Yagura. Yagura was a fourth Mizukage. However, many seek and was hoping for his death. The very reason why Zabuza had to flee from Kiri all those years ago was because he tried to assassinate Yagura and he failed, so he had to flee. Yagura has become a rather ruthless tyrant who see any sign as a traitor was a permanent death sentence. And because of something that started a very long time ago with the second Mizukage, with the bloodline members, it started from the Kaguya clan, which made the second Mizukage and several others started to distrust the clans. Yagura had taken it to see all of the bloodline clans were a traitor and they were going to unite and try to end his life. So he started a purge that had led to a civil war, leaving countless dead on both sides. The 2,000 plus shinobis had no choice, as they were working under their leader. Many had fled and joined the rebellion forces, and here they were now for a final confrontation. And standing in the middle of all of this was one Naruto, as he stood there rather calm. Yagura flexed his chakra. It was a sign to annihilate and wipe away every single resistance that were pushing back against him. Naruto watches all the forces charge forward. The moment they started to move, the heavens started to cry. Time seemed to slow down, and time itself froze. Every single raindrop suspended in mid-air, not a single one dropping, as Naruto's mind was working faster than everything, even time it seems, given how it came to a slow screeching crawl. Every single shinobi would have a raindrop fall on them before the second one, as he timed it perfectly, 0.3 seconds till the second drop. That is how long it would take. As the large, great forces started to run, Naruto held his hand out, as a sign for the Hiraishin appeared in the center of his palm. Naruto held it to the heavens. What happened was, Naruto allowed his chakra to spread through, like small molecules of droplets, as they found themselves embedded in each of the raindrops. Something that would be impossible for anyone else except himself. Every single raindrop contained a Hiraishin mark. He then moved to the normal standing eye. All they saw was a blur, a white blur moving past. His blonde hair and the white cape moving past them. However, his intention was not to commit mass genocide, but to simply knock them out. 2,600 plus ninjas were taken out in exactly 52 seconds. Some tried to fight, some tried to step away, but all they felt was a hit and they dropped. one after another. They watched as their comrades fall. Some of them were actually delighted to know that he was simply knocking them out. Some of them really didn't want to fight, but they found themselves at the precedent in the final moments. And if they ran now, Yagra would end their life, seeing them as a traitor, and anyone were to leave, and he found out, your whole family would be annihilated. So yes, some were grateful for this. However, the fact that he was able to take down all of them in seconds, even the side that he was fighting for, was utterly and truly terrified. Yes, even they were frightened to think that a human being possessed the speed and power to do something like this. Not even his father in his heyday could ever reach anywhere close to what his son has just accomplished. Bodies litter the entire place. Yagra stood there. The man was visibly shocked. You could see it written all over his face. As Naruto reappeared, his hands and legs, they were smoking. His sandals were no longer on his feet. The friction that he had moved with was just as he thought. The footwear wasn't able to keep up. Even his cloak was still on fire as Naruto slowly removed it. As he released it, the thing burnt up. As his arms were glistening, it seems like sweat was on his arms, but it was not. His body had moved at speeds that the human form should not move at. The Hirishin technique was not what his father did. His father could not replicate it to this degree. The amount of mental stress that it would take would kill his father or anyone that tried to replicate what he did. However, Naruto's mind was one of the strongest in probably the whole universe. Therefore, the stress wasn't able to harm him in the slightest. But it did affect his body though. However, because of his intensified training to strengthen his physical form, his body was able to withstand it without even a scratch. But not his sandals or his coat. Even his undershirt, his black shirt that was on his form, had small little burn marks on it. However, Naruto pulled back, the hook staff slowly passing his nose. Yagra spun as he twirled, the amount of force that he gathered behind his swing, as he swinged it towards Naruto's skull once again, with the intention to blow his head clean off. However, Naruto held his hand up and caught it with ease. Yagra was confused because all the power that he put behind the swing had ceased to exist. That was Naruto. He simply reduced the force that was coming behind it, making it nothing but a small little tap with ease. You know, for someone so small, you sure do pack a lot, said Naruto. Yagra snarled as he seemed rather upset. This isn't your fight. This has nothing to do with Konoha. Turn around and walk out of here now, and Konoha will not be my next target, he says. Well, for one thing, it's rather foolish of you to threaten my village right in front of me. And besides, even if you were to turn into that beast that you have inside of you, you still wouldn't stand a chance against Konoha. You wouldn't even come close. And another thing, I was the one that brought this to your attention for a final battle. Why would I turn around and abandon them now? Oh, and one more thing. After the things that you've done, I'm not here to have a civil conversation. I'm not here to try to find a peaceful way to end this. The only thing that matters now is for me to end your life, said Naruto. Then so be it, said Yagra. I'll end yours first. As Naruto watched as his hand was covered in water. The second Hokage was said to be the most powerful water user, but Yagra was close behind, manipulating water with just 2 hand signs. He shot the ball-sized water ball directly to Naruto's chest. Point blank range. with enough force to bulldoze right through him, using his hook staff to make sure that Naruto did not move away. However, Naruto did not move, as a hole blew right through him. Yagura smirked. Over on the other side, Ao's eyes widened as he could see what was going on with his Byakugan. "What is it?" Mei, who stood beside him, said. "A hole was just blown right through Namikaze," Ao said, causing the others to have a shock look on their face. As they realized that this was it, they have to move in. "Wait," Ao said. "It's healing." "Back to the fight." "How is this possible?" said Yagura. "You're supposed to be dead." "Oh well, you see, I simply moved my organs away from the spots that you would have damaged. While this would be a death sentence for most even without rupturing their organs, I can control my blood inside my body, every single drop. I can also control every single molecule of this form. That means this is nothing." Yagura watched as even Naruto's shirt was repaired. "Now it's my turn." Naruto gripped Yagura's staff and yanked him before he opened his palm like he was slapping as he slammed it in Yagura's guts. He then turned his hand up and pushed it up. Yagura puked up blood and spit as Naruto then released him and turned. His feet crashed into Yagura's face. The man's body was jolted forward because the force was so impacting and heavy. He was blasted for a mile. Boom, he crashed hard. As Naruto started to calmly walk, an exact copy of him emerged from himself. That second copy made its way over towards the unconscious ninjas before. It brought its hand up, and 4 large pieces of stone erupted from the earth. He placed his hand out as each of them got the kanji for space on them. That is when he held his hand up as every single 2,000 plus shinobi start to rise. They found themselves suspended in mid-air, in their unconscious state. The stones then started to glow, before they linked together as a barrier, an invisible space, as their bodies were placed on top of it. Some of them started to come too, as Naruto had simply knocked them out. They started to realize what was going on. The space was large enough for them not to be packed together. Immediately they tried to break free, but they found themselves unsuccessful. Shuriken, kunais, blades, even chakra ability. They found themselves unable to break it because they weren't handling any normal barrier here. They were trying to disrupt space itself. And the copy of Naruto was standing there, making sure that their efforts to break it would be impossible. A violent surge of chakra spread through the sky as everyone snapped their gaze over the red coursing bubbling form of the 3 tails. Yagura did not waste time as he launched a miniature tail beast bomb. Watching the thing come towards him, Naruto held his hands out like he was about to catch it. And he did, shocking Ao as he caught it directly in his palm. His body was thrown back by the force, his feet ripping and tearing through the earth. However, he never released it. However, strangely enough, it never exploded. Naruto finally came to a stop. The tail beast ball was no longer purple, instead, it was white. However, Yagura was in front of him, his 3 tails lashing out. But before they could strike, 2 arms emerged from Naruto's side and grabbed one of each. As for the last one, Naruto released the tail beast bomb in only one hand and grabbed the other one. The tail beast chakra was supposed to be corrosive and burn human skin, but it wasn't affecting Naruto. The concentration had to be much higher. However, that is not what he did for the tail beast ball. All of the power was still inside. He simply changed the molecules of the chakra, turned it into something else. as a struggle started to happen, but Naruto threw the tail beast ball right in Yagura's face. He brought his arms up with the intentions to block it, but it disassembled right in front of his eyes, before reappearing and reassembling in his face. Boom! His body was thrown like a cannon, crashing hard as Naruto stood there, the arms that he had created returning back to his body. By now, every single ninja had awoken by the violent explosions and sounds, as they found themselves stuck, trying to break free, but they were unable to. Mei and the others moving in a bit closer, as Ale was standing there, relaying everything that he could see, even though it was becoming a problem. There was too much chakra situated in the ear, and it was starting to affect his implanted Byakugan, and therefore affecting him as well, stopping him from giving back information when a thunderous boom. Yagura was done messing around, having full control over the beast, the power coursing through his veins. He erupted like a monster as Naruto stood there, the titanic three tails hovering above him. The beast flipped on its side and spun towards Naruto like a ball, ripping and tearing apart the earth. Naruto could see through the eyes of his copy as he saw that all of them were awake to witness what was about to happen. Holding his hand up to the sky, this didn't even seem like the power of a ninja anymore. He parted the goddamn clouds, shocking everyone. Yes, he parted the clouds as they seemed to grow in size. The section that was open up to the beautiful sky once again was clouded a moment later because the clouds had grown to a size that it seemed like it was about to plunder to the earth. Naruto seemed to harness the power inside of it, manipulating the molecules and the electric qualities before he pulled the lightning straight out of it. He pulled it around it and everything in between. Yagura, who was fully transformed by this point, charging towards Naruto, was met with a titanic blast. Everyone had to close their eyes as it became so bright. For a few seconds, the three tails was thrown. It crashed, ripping a huge chunk of the island apart. Naruto wasn't done though. He held his hand up as the earth ripped open, pulling the molecules out of the earth. Water started to rise. Said water rose up in the sky as it became an arrow. Yes, pointing down towards the shell. It struck without reason or warning. The force plunged the three tails deep within the earth. The shell even cracked, shocking many by seeing the impenetrable shell crack. Naruto wasn't done yet as 4 copies of him emerged from his body. They weren't even clones, each of them arriving at a tail. As they held him up, the last one placed a hand on his broken shell. The three tails being held up in the air, their strength was ridiculous. The real Naruto floated forward and gripped onto the head of the three tails. The moment he made contact, Naruto saw the small problem. Naruto immediately shattered the control of this genjutsu. Usually, breaking someone out of a genjutsu would simply erase all the confines and illusion that was upon them. However, this genjutsu had a trigger. The moment Yagura was broken out of it, his life came to a very end. However, Naruto was powerful enough to find out everything in that split second. He saw every single thing as Naruto ripped Yagura clean out of the beast. Not the beast out of Yagura. He ripped Yagura out of the three tails. Naruto's gaze looked towards him, his dead corpse on the ground before turning towards the three tails. As he rested his hand on the thing's shell, the shell immediately recovered. The next moment though, the three tails start to go unstable. And this wasn't because he was ripped out of Yagra. This was because Naruto was doing it on purpose. The chakra shot into the heavens before dissipating away. It might seem like the Three Tails was going to reform, but that was not the case. Naruto had simply sent it away, for it to be left alone in peace. Heavens no, the beast had been through a lot. All of Naruto copies returned back to him, merging into his body as they became one with him once again. The space barrier started to shake before the stones broke apart, coming back down to the ground. 2,000 plus stood there as they took their weapons as they rose up. They did not know what to do. Should they? Most of them still holding on to their weapons. The great tyrant is dead, said Naruto. However, if you still wish to proceed with this battle, go right ahead. But know this, you will only be throwing away your life. So I'll give you all 3 seconds to drop your weapons and finish this once and for all. 1, 2. Weapons started to drop as the sounds clinked across the ground. As everyone surrendered in that moment. His show of strength that not even a tail beast could face him had worked rather well. Time skip. Everything was being knocked over as Mei Terumi found herself. Her legs were wrapped around Naruto as the both of them were in the middle of a rather heated makeout session. Everything in the home that they were currently in was being knocked over, going straight towards the bedroom. As he finally released her legs uncurling as she fell on the bed, her eyes filled with nothing but lust. It was a really good thing that this place had thick walls. Time skip. The next morning, as the place was still a mess, Mei was on her back, the sheet covering her lower half, one of her legs hanging off the bed. As Naruto was fully awake, he wasn't really doing anything. His eyes were open, but he was just staring at nothing. It has been over 8 months since the attack on Konoha. Well, not really Konoha, but himself. That guy that was called Aizen. He had absolutely no idea who that was. As for Yumiko, she had not returned since, as Naruto still didn't have any idea what that was about. Over the past 8 months, he had made true to his word. Tsunade had taken on Sakura as a student. Seeing her excellent chakra control, she wasn't the only one, but Sakura was coming a far way. As Naruto had taken Sasuke off Kakashi's hand and started to train him, it was rather surprising how stronger one could get with Naruto as their teacher. However, it has been utter hell for the Uchiha boy. Yes, utter true hell. Right now Naruto was away from the village, so he had time to relax and not getting himself put through the ringer every single day. To up his speed, his strength, and his mind, his control, as Naruto kept on hitting him with not just physical attacks but mental attacks as well, for him to be able to overcome anything that was thrown in his way. Mei Terumi had seek help, coming to Tsunade Senju, as she had came to Harrison in the past, but it wasn't good and he couldn't afford to get involved with another village at the moment. But now Tsunade had offered someone to help, as long as they sign something that the villages can see a great future for one another. In other terms, they would become allies after this great help. The group was shocked when they heard her say that she was only sending one person. However, after finding out about the person's identity, they truly believed that he would be a great help, as Naruto's name has been going far and wide, not just because he wiped out countless on the Orochimaru attack, and he also killed a Sannin as well. More than that, as Naruto had been sending out on several high-ranking missions, and none of them has he failed. He'd been given the status as Jonin the moment Tsunade had saw it fit to give them their rank elevation. However, Naruto was more than that because he tended to leave the village whenever he seemed to please. Tsunade had no problem with that because he had done a lot for the village, improving their security and also improving their weapons. Konoha had state-of-the-art weapons that no other village could dream of, well except for one, because of their technology, but Naruto did not have technology that he used. It was all his mind, and because of him Konoha had made a long-lasting friendship with the Land of Spring, once known as the Land of Snow, but because of Naruto and Sasuke, the both of them heading towards there to protect Koyuki. Sasuke had been given the rank Chunin for his help during the invasion and his battle as well, and the both of them had eliminated Dodo and placed the rightful heir of the village, which was Koyuki. Naruto had been sent here. He was actually the one that found Zabuza and Haku. He's been here for the past month and a half, and his efforts had led to them finally overcoming the great threats. And even more so, his reputation was becoming more and more fearsome. His very name for people that were against him was something to send shivers down their spine. And more so now, his name was becoming dangerous, perhaps too dangerous around the elemental nation. Because of his great power, he was upsetting the very balance of their world. No one person was supposed to have power like this, eliminating over thousands in seconds, taking down tail beasts like they were average shinobi. No one person should be this powerful. Many people were having a problem with it. However, when your strength was truly great, there was nothing that you had to fear. Absolutely nothing. And there was nothing and no one that Naruto fear. Time skip. Naruto was standing in his own personal little space that he created. It's been a long time now since he has created this location in order to grow his strength so that the time would not take a longer time in the real world. However, now there was something else that he was working on. Inside, the entire Fox clan was located. Small little chubby foxes were running around, ranging from some even as tall as Kurama. However, Kurama was the only one that possessed 9 tails. All the others had 8 or less, going down to 1, each of them possessing unique abilities. Some of them were the same though. As Naruto was working on something different, there was still more that he did not know. His brain was evolving at a steady pace, as he had proven to underestimate the brain capacity that he possessed when he almost exploded. That small little cut or him losing his anger on Tsunade was a clear sign that his body was evolving faster than he thought. But he fixed that problem, and it shouldn't be happening for any time soon now. However, there was something else. As Naruto was looking at a wormhole, he had punched a hole straight through space and time. Yes, ripping through space and time. The more Naruto started to experience what life was like, the more he didn't want to lose it. Since his first time with Shizune, he found himself to truly enjoy the physical form. It was a true spectacle that was so wonderful, but not just that. At first, Naruto had never input other people consideration. Many people might see him as a benevolent person, but to others he was a monster. He killed without mercy. He killed without hesitation. If you came after him to try and end his life, he wouldn't spare your life. He would simply erase you where you stood. Yes, to many he was a monster. However, the validation of people seeing him as their hero, it felt good. But he knew that his body wouldn't be able to contain his mass for too long, and there would be nothing that he can do about it at a certain point. However, he wanted to fix that. Maybe what he was seeking was beyond this planet. As Kurama sat there, watching the space that the kid had ripped, Naruto put his hand through. However, when he pulled it back, his hand had aged over 100 years within seconds. Kurama looked at him confused. What the hell happened, he said. The calculations for space and time are still rather difficult, said Naruto. But I know exactly what I did wrong. I am trying to exist outside the fabric of time, which is not something that I can ever do with a form like this. Nor any form or any being can do. They would be incinerated right away. I thought you were trying to get information within time itself, not outside of it. Well, I was thinking that would be the best place. Outside of time, what? Would be able to stop my body from being perfect as always. However, it seems it is too much for this body to handle, said Naruto. His arm started to regenerate as it became younger and perfect once again. Naruto started to mess with what he was doing until the portal in front of him glistened once more, and when he put his hand through, it was fine. I'll be right back, he said as he stepped through. When Naruto stepped through, he found himself in the middle of a battle. A person was standing there, but they were definitely not human. It was a man. From what he could tell, he had the characteristics of a man. But maybe he was wrong. Maybe he just looked like one. However, his skin was green. Yes, really green. And his head was larger than most. Almost round. He had no hair. And his eyes. He had no iris. His eyes were just completely black. And his blood was purple. He was holding his right arm, which was leaking blood, from what Naruto could see. As Naruto noticed that there were several others that were dead on the ground. However, he also noticed behind him were smaller versions of himself. They all look alike, as they were smaller, but they had the same features and characteristics. The one who was causing all this mayhem was a being that looked humanoid as well. However, his skin was white. Yes, pure white. His eyes were the... Naruto was surprised when he saw the Byakugan. His hair was a bright blue color, as he was wearing a white clothing, and grey as well. In his hand, it seemed like he was holding a fishing rod. Yes, it seemed like he was holding a sort of fishing rod, as he was hovering in the air, flying above them. He also had brown horns that wrapped around his head, with a gap between them at the front of his head. He turned to face Naruto. That was a space-time transportation ability. And from what I can see, the power coursing through your veins is chakra, and quite a lot of it. What's that? He said, looking at Naruto with his Byakugan. No, that's unusual. What are you? He said. As far as I know, you're not a Osusuke. So for you to be ripping out space and time like that and moving around, what exactly are you? Who are you, to be quite frank? He said, looking at Naruto. As Naruto looked over towards the innocent people from what he could see with his eyes. Given the state they're in, and given that smile on your face when I just arrived, I can assume that you're the bad guy here, said Naruto. Well, the term bad is rather subjective. First of all, if you are going to speak to me, you should at least know my name. You can call me Yorishiki, he said. Yorishiki. Well, it's nice to meet you, Yorishiki. My name is Naruto. Ah, Naruto. Tell me, where are you from? I don't think that would be a good idea, said Naruto. You seem to have some rather bad intentions. You're supposedly right. But I would have to insist that chakra coursing through your veins. If you possess it, that means your people also possess it. And this quantity And the quality as well. I must know. Where are you from, Yoshiki said, flying down towards Naruto. Don't! The man that was fighting Yoshiki said. Don't trust him, don't tell him anything. He will come to your planet and steal all your chakra, your people chakra as well. And he will leave it in ruins and destructions. He's a monster. Well, that's enough out of you, Yoshiki said, throwing his hook staff towards the man's chest. However, Naruto materialized in front of the man and grabbed the end of it. Surprisingly though, it went right through Naruto's hand and it went into his chest. As Naruto feel it, trying to rip his chakra out. Yoshiki was shocked when Naruto grabbed the card. He was confused. How did you? I no understand the frequency that this is moving at. It caught me off guard at first. First time I was seeing something like this, said Naruto. As he dragged it, Yoshiki was pulled along as Naruto jumped and slammed a fist right into his face, cracking his horn. Yoshiki was blasted away, straight into the sky. Everyone behind Naruto was shocked, absolutely so. As Naruto turned to face the man, you. When they heard a violent shout, Yoshiki descended down as his feet ripped the earth apart. His gaze was murderous. How dare you? His jokey demeanor turned to deadly as the pieces of his broken horn fell down his face. You primate! You uncivilized beast! How dare you lay your hand on me? Do you have any idea who I am? He said. His power surging. Well, it doesn't matter who you are. You already told me that you're the bad guy, right? Given the state that these people are in, the state that you have put them in, and some of them are children, I can't just stand by and allow you to do what you want. Yoshiki started to lose his shit as his chakra started to explode out of him in a rather violent manner, his glare turning deadly at Naruto, his intention to kill. Fine, I'll simply rip the information out of your mind. He appeared in front of Naruto as Naruto was caught off guard. His hand slammed into Naruto's stomach as he hit Naruto pressure points. He twisted his hand as he pulled back and jammed it 3 times in Naruto's chest. The man behind Naruto had to move as Naruto was thrown. However, the strange being held his hands out and Naruto was caught in a green energy field that stopped him from crashing. Yoshiki appeared in front of the man though and raised his hook staff intending to end his life. However, Naruto appeared. Thanks for that, he said, as he drove his fist in Yoshiki's face. However, Yoshiki was fast enough to knock Naruto's hand to the side. He then reached, going straight for Naruto's eyes. Naruto stomped the ground as a pillar emerged and crashed under Yoshiki's face as Naruto appeared above him and slammed his heel in his skull, breaking the pillar apart. Lightning gathered on Naruto's fingertips as they slammed into Yoshiki's chest, launching him away as he bashed and slammed into the earth, crashing hard. He got back up and flew towards Naruto throwing his staff, the hook coming towards Naruto's back as he turned to block, but it was a distraction. However, Yoshiki found himself blocked by a clone that simply appeared. He frowned as he released flames just from his hands. No hand sign, nothing at all. His hook staff returned back to him, the point whipping around as Naruto flipped away. He skidded on his feet. Naruto was shocked, facing off against a Kage 11 ninja, facing off against a tail beast, killing Orochimaru, but their power meant nothing to this. Naruto ducked, his thoughts cutting off. The thing came back at least 3 times, trying to pin him, but Naruto evaded every single one of them as he flew straight into the sky. Urashiki was surprised for a moment before he flew after Naruto. As the both of them started to clash, their hands slamming against each other, violent shockwaves raining down on the location as their palms connected, their fists clashed, their legs hit against one another. Urashiki was getting angrier and angrier. How could someone keep up with him? Whoever this primate, undeveloped individual was, they shouldn't be able to do this. Urashiki thrust his arms out as Naruto was hit with a wave of chakra that resembled two giant pillars. His body slammed into the ground, ripping deep inside of it. It seems like he was down and out for the count. As Urashiki landed, his clothes was scuffed up and so was he. However, he didn't seem to mind that as his gaze was focused on where Naruto stood. Naruto slowly pulled himself out of the earth. I have to say, I found myself always lacking a true challenge, never having to extend myself more than I have to. If it wasn't for my physical abilities, my mind could always do the trick. But you've pushed my physical abilities. I never thought I would need to go above a certain limit. That is why I set my body at a special area to limit my strength. But you have showed me that I need to release more in order to take you down, defeat me. Urashiki scoffed. You think you can defeat something like me? You uncivilized primate. You know, you keep on saying that. However, I'm sure if it comes to our intellect, you will see that you're the primate. Urashiki eyes snap. Are you trying to imply that even in a mental fortitude you can best someone like me? I'm not trying to imply it, said Naruto, as he stood right beside Urashiki. Urashiki was shocked. And now, let me show you what I can do when I'm not holding back that much. Urashiki's eyes went wide as Naruto punched him 25 times in the stomach and 15 across the face. Naruto's blows were moving so fast that there was violent shockwaves behind and in front of him as he thrust his hands out. Urashiki's body was dancing in mid-air as Naruto bombarded him like he was a pincushion. The last blow sent him sailing across the area where they stood, over to the other side, as the strange beings were watching. Who is that man? One of them said. The one that was fighting as his arm was being repaired by one of his own. They weren't healing it, instead they were merging their own flesh to the man's arm to heal it, as this kind of healing was not on the elemental nation. I do not know, he said, as he spoke English. However, he's as strong as the Otsutskis. I never thought I would see someone go head to head with them like this. It is truly incredible, he said. Urashiki found himself being knocked senseless. Naruto was beneath him as he raised his hands, as these were not physical attack. However, they became physical as Naruto was using the power of his mind and they were breaking in to reality itself. They ripped into Urashiki like small little bullets, tearing into him. He was sent sailing into the sky. Naruto held his hand out as a technique, similar to the Rasengan form in his hand, but it wasn't a Rasengan. It started out like it, but it started to twirl and twist as the chakra turned into a violent storm, twisting in Naruto's palm into a gigantic tornado. As Naruto thrust it upwards, the technique crashed into Urashiki and pulled him down. Inside, the chakra started to rip away at his form, tearing him limb from limb, ripping him apart. as Naruto watched as the thing imploded, a violent blast in the sky. Naruto stood there. As he was surprised though, he was still alive. Urashiki's body was suspended in mid-air. As he wasn't moving, he was just suspended there. His arms at his side as he wasn't dropping. He was furious. As he was in agony. He couldn't beat Naruto. He realized that. Therefore, Naruto watched as he ripped his own eyes out and devoured them. Yes, he tore his own eyes out and he devoured the both of them. Naruto stood there rather surprised to what he was witnessing. However, the moment he devoured them, Naruto felt a pressure descended upon the planet. His power became violent and immensely powerful. It surged beyond what Naruto thought it would reach as he pushed himself to the pinnacle of his strength. Naruto was surprised. Urashiki had changed completely as his feet turned into a bird talon as he was using his elongated sleeves as wings, as the talons on his feet were sharp. As Naruto realized that he literally turned himself into a bird hybrid, and his eyes, there was a golden ripple pattern right in the center of his forehead. But it wasn't just that though. He had black markings running all over him. His hair became wild and spiky in all different directions. And he wasn't even finished there, as his normal set of eyes became gold. As the man had basically turned himself into a kind of bird creature. Naruto could feel his overwhelming power. It's been a long time since Naruto found himself surprised and shocked, facing such an opponent. He appeared in front of Naruto. Naruto had to push himself to move. As Naruto spun, but Urashiki blocked his arm. Naruto tried to lash out again, but Urashiki knocked his leg away. "You fool. Can't you see I can see the future?" he said. The golden Rinnegan in his forehead turned in blue. He smiled as he kicked Naruto. He brought his leg up and slammed it in Naruto's chin. He then grabbed Naruto by the face and rubbed his head through the earth before throwing him. Naruto crashed hard. Urashiki started to walk towards him as Naruto picked himself up. Urashiki's speed blitzed Naruto, flying past him as he flew once again. This time he turned. He delivered a brutal slash across Naruto's face. Naruto could not keep up with him. He held his hand out and tiny beams tear Naruto's shirt apart as he ripped into him. Urashiki appeared as he held a strange orb of power before sinking it in Naruto's gut. The explosion sent Naruto sailing away. For the first time in his life, Naruto found himself outmatched. As he lay in a crater, "For you to force me to awaken this form, you pathetic monkey," he said, looking down towards Naruto. "It's insulting that a beast like yourself could force me to use this power. Truly disgraceful on my part. However, I'll erase you and them to make sure that this is only kept with me," he said. "But not before I rip that information right out of your mind." Naruto spat up blood. "I have to say, you're stronger than me." "Of course I am," said Urashiki. "You're nothing but a weak little monkey. And I am a god." "A god, you say?" Naruto said, spitting out more blood. "You're wrong. I'm not talking about you being a god. I said you're more stronger than me because you are, as we are right now. I've spent majority of my life knowing that the smarter I become, the more I lose touch of things around me. And I didn't want that. So I always push it aside, bit by bit. Even lessening myself, suppressing my intelligence, which therefore suppress a rather large aspect of my power and true self. However, in order to beat you, I've got to stop doing that. I'm not sure what will happen to me, but it doesn't really matter now, does it? Because at this state, I can't truly defeat you. But Naruto rises up to his feet as he closed his eyes as Yoshiki started speed towards him. For the first time, Naruto allowed himself to stop, suppressing his brain power. However, there was a huge side effect of doing this. He lost touch of everything. Emotions on small things that would make one happy. He stopped seeing things and people as people. He started to see them as information, knowledge. That was the bad side effect, but, well, in doing so, he stopped holding back. Yoshiki was shocked as Naruto caught his arm. As Naruto's eyes were still closed, he lashed out with his talons once again. However, Naruto caught his other arm as his body started to heal up. Even his demeanor changed. I have to say, I've never come across a being like you before. It seems this whole universe, no, scratch that. This galaxy has information that I've only started to scratch, Naruto said. Acting like a machine, so I intend to pick you apart piece by piece, to find out what makes you tick, and to understand every single part of you. Yoshiki was trying to pull his arms back, but he was unsuccessful, as he lashed out with his talon. However, he was sent straight for miles. Yoshiki came to a stop as he dropped to his knees and spat out blood. What the hell was that? He said. Yoshiki looked up as Naruto was standing there, looking down at him. Now, let me understand what makes you tick, said Naruto. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part, and do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.